Okay, facilities committee meeting. We'll do attendance. We'll go around starting with Ms. Haywood, please.
Present. Jennifer Lohman here.
Leah Mulhern here.
Dan Schultz here.
David Cohen present.
Charles Riddle Williams present. Zachary Epps present. Joel Fishbein, go Birds.
Okay, and I'll turn it over now to Mr. Holman for the rest of the agenda.
All right, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes. I apologize. Thank you. So we do have the minutes from the last meeting. Thank you again. That was on January 3rd. We have a motion to approve this, please.
So moved, Charles Riddle Williams.
A second, please.
Second, Zachary Epps.
Any comments, proposed changes? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, those are passed. Thank you. And again, Mr. Holman.
Thank you for having me. Let's start here. In this building, paint and blinds go a long way, as you can tell. As we figure out how we're going to attack this building, we have our issues here, but we need to have a place where we can be that comfortably. Slide number 2, please. That right there, what you see is moisture that is coming through the walls in the building. This further is actually basically we need to have deeper discussion on what we're going to do with this building. Where we're going to stay here, we're going to move. The repair there, I haven't got a price yet, but it's going to be in the tens of thousands of dollars to repair that, both spots. That's the lintels and the mortar that allow the mortar to infiltrate the building. So, next slide, please. Met with Student Council Sustainability Committee last week. It was nice and chilly that day. Had a great time. I learned a lot of things, and I look to invite them to upcoming projects that we may be having. And also too, they need to be part of our ongoing sustainability committee, so that we can incorporate them into what we want to do, how we build, because I won't be here forever, so, and they will be taking over for us, all of us, so we need to have sustainable buildings for them to take over from us. Great group of kids it was. So next slide, please. That's what we commonly call in my industry as a bird's nest. So that was that is the flagpole at Shelton Elementary School. It's been in disrepair for over 5 years. So that's my touch it once, be done with it. That's my motto. Called a company out. They came out, fixed it. As you see there, bird's nest been repaired, replaced. For the now they have a flag they can raise up and down at Shelton Elementary School. There it is right there, matter of fact. Next slide, please. So I don't know if all of you have seen the letters or the markings at the high school or that's on the student entrance. Those are actually screwed in. They're 3D, so they stand out a whole lot more than the previous paint does, lack of a better term. We know we have to do work around our buildings, but the little things that we can do to make it more inviting, these are the things that we need to focus on as we continue to focus on the bigger things also. Let's see, next slide, please. So the sponsor panel, the bane of my existence. So it keeps, but it's been welded in place. We're not looking for it to come down anymore. Yeah, so next slide, please. Work order program. I understand that we have the district has invested a lot of money into gathering all the data that is needed for a successful workforce system. What Josh and I are not in denial of that, or we want to capture that and make sure that whatever program we get can integrate that also. So that being said, we're going to pick the best one we can, the one that most aligns with our needs, and it still may be Brightly School do. We don't know that yet. That's yet to be determined because we haven't met with them yet. So, but once we meet with them, we take all the information back, and then we'll assess and debrief and come to a selection. And that concludes that's my last slide. All right.
Are there any board questions or comments? Ms. Haywood?
Thank you very much for this presentation. And like you said, the small things really do make a difference, because signage at the high school is so much more prominent right now, and it looks really great, including also the changes that were made to the parking lot a while back, but still they look really a huge improvement. So thank you.
John White and I worked closely together on the parking lot to ensure that it was a successful endeavor. So thank you for that. I'll make sure I share that with them also.
You're welcome. The one question I had is, I know that we were trying to put in place a sustainability policy, and that was going to come to this committee first. Don't know if that's on an upcoming agenda for the facilities committee, but I know that we took it off of our policy committee meeting agenda until it came here first.
I'll take that back and write in my notes to have it addressed.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, we've been trying to get that in place for a couple of years, but I know the high school group was not quite set up last year, so it sounds like they're really moving.
I have a meeting tomorrow with Karen Schaefer, who is, I'm sorry if I mispronounced her last name. And she's in the doctoral program at Penn, and she's interested in how we do things and how sustainable the district is, and which, I'm all for it, so I'm looking for a partner and her, so I haven't responded to her emails yet, but because it was just, it's been busy. So but having that been said, I'm looking forward to working with her. Really.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and just following that,
Sure, yes.
the student body sustainability committee has been really active, followed by inactive, followed by active. I mean, we had a president of the student council who was all about that 6 or 7 years ago, and I thought we were going to get all kinds of momentum, and then it stopped because we were relying on students. The key is, people in this room have to have long-term memory about what has been proposed and what needs to be checked off on the to-do list.
You're absolutely correct, and I have 12 years left to go. So.
And if you're working with Karen, she is the advisor to the sustainability
Environmental.
environmental club, right? Yeah. So, yeah, kudos. Look forward to that work.
Yep. And I'm sorry, we did pass a resolution a while back that might be probably is worth taking up the school district. Back, we did everything with COVID before COVID. So I'm going to say maybe 5 years ago.
I have a comment.
I believe it's almost right. You're not attributing COVID on the house, right?
It was policy or a statement?
I'm sorry, this resolution.
A resolution. Thank you.
I can dig it up and send it out.
Extra than me to be up.
Other questions, comments?
I have just a couple, but to continue on this route, I know we'd all agree that not relying on students, but when given the inspiration and resources, they certainly show up. So I wonder to what extent, when it does come to policy, whether it's a policy or AR, that we build in student representation and some of that, support to keep them engaged. to continue the kudos, I walked by Cheltenham earlier and I was like, where did that flag come from? And there's a new slide. There's a new slide on the playground. Myers got some new equipment. I was like, oh, so Cheltenham has some new equipment as
So
well.
we're trying our best, again, just little things. We know we have big things to take care of, but we have to stay focused on what matters. And then what matters is student achievement and student being engaged in all aspects of learning. So, that's what's important. That's what we're here for, right? So we can stay with that. Keep that the focus. We'll be okay.
And then last one, in the slide you mentioned, in terms of the admin building, I'm sure that's not the only thing that might need to be addressed. In terms of near future, like, is there even a ballpark at some point where you wouldn't want to defer certain things beyond?
We are not deferring anything right now. Everything's been addressed that needs to be addressed, except for that, which is all in that picture. Yeah. All the little things that can be touched once and be done with are being just that, touched once and being done with. What you are, we have a heating issue in this building, right? Everything, as you sometimes pull up, you see the steam coming off the pipe. That's because the fire alarm is going off in the basement because of the steam leak, moisture in that room. So that's because traps are passing. And it's one pipe system and, traps pass. And so, yeah, steam. How a trap works is quick, fast. Steam hits a trap, condenses the water, trap opens up, water condensate passes. Well, the traps aren't opening up. They're just staying open and the steam's passing right through. So that's what you see out there. So yeah, we have issues, but again, this for Josh and I to figure out how much we want to invest in this building and figure out, the longer term goals.
Appreciate it.
So taking the liberty to ask Mr. Swiger just to come to the table a little early, not to give a presentation, but just to give a high level overview of just where we are in the process of being able to give you more finite answers to what really are our three focus areas. And I'm not going to even start with this building because this building is where adults are. So that's not the priority. It's the high school, it's EP. We'll make do for here as long as we have to until we figure out what we're going to do with where our students are. So I want to be very clear with that. It's major issues here, but it is what it is until we can figure out a plan to address the high school and EP. So Josh has been very diligent and already really working on the goals in his strategic plan. I don't want you to go into detail because you don't have all the information yet, but just kind of walk through timeline of just kind of where we are, what we're doing to be able to put together a formal presentation that can go forth to both the board and to the community at large.
Sure. So for those of you involved in the last construction project in the school district, we had a team assembled, a team together, which consisted of building professionals, design professionals, engineers. It's been 5 years since we did that project. We need to reassemble the team. It's been too long to work off those agreements, so we need to re-vet and rebid all of those agreements, all those contracts. Piece number one, we're actually going to talk about tonight, which is an architect, an engineer to help in the planning process. From that point on, we had the various professionals to the team. We built the plan using our available resources and being fair to our taxpayers, being fair to our students in terms of facilities provided, and we developed a long-term plan. I think because of our limited resources, we need to have that plan in place and we need to follow it. I think I wouldn't call a 20-year plan out of the ordinary or out of turn. So that's my high level.
So we've got work to do. We're pulling in the experts. We're going to be doing feasibility studies. And for those of you who just are in tune, which is the majority of you, 5 years is a long time. And coupled by the COVID and the pandemic, dollar signs are not what they were 5 years ago. They've all inflated. So we're just trying to get updates. The demographic study that we had done is completed. So we will be giving that report out to you as well. Nothing mind-blowing. I can tell you that right now. We are going to be pretty sustainable over the next 10 years. It's not what I thought. So I can tell you that we're not losing the significant numbers that I was potentially hoping to lose to make some shifts. I'm just being very honest. EP is my nemesis right now. I have to figure out how do we move forward with our 5th and 6th grade at that facility. So that's all going to be forthcoming. So I know you guys are, I won't say anxious, but I know you have questions and some that are long overdue. I respect that. I honor that. But we as you know, are doing a reset from what did or did not happen under individuals that were sitting in these seats that we now hold. So that's the most professional way that I can say and address that. So with that said, I also want to give you guys an update that we're floundering a little bit in the leadership in facilities. Our supervisor for the evening just recently resigned, and our assistant to Mr. Holman is going to be out for an extended period of time. He's already been out for about 3 months, and he's going to easily be out another 3 to 4. So I have the team working on trying to find a retire that could come in an interim level. Our posting for the supervisor for our night shift closes tomorrow. So we're going to expedite that interview process because we need the manpower to continue to monitor and make sure that we're serving the districts and to the fidelity in which we should be. So that's where we are. Mrs. Harding, if you could go back to the sign, the CSD sign, I think it was slide 7. Even here, I mean, little things, and you can see where we come, but when I was meeting with Mr. Holman, looking at the presentation, the first thing that my eyes was drawn to was, yeah, the sign looks nice, but then look at the steps, right? I mean, so when you go to the track or the Panther sign, which is what we were highlighting, if you can move forward, I think that was next slide. I mean, when you look at the track, I mean, that's horrific. That has to be addressed. That's borderline a safety concern, to be quite honest with you. So, you know, low-hanging fruit to show progress, but much bigger pieces that need to be touched and addressed. And that's just the reality. We're going to always be very forthright and transparent. That's why I just wanted to highlight what I really saw. I saw the small victory, but I see the larger issue behind it, right? And that's what we're looking at. So enough of that, but just having real dialogue that we have some serious work from a facility standpoint that we're not going to let it overwhelm us, but it is kind of monumental, to be quite honest with you, with some of the things that we have to address. Okay. Back to
Thank you, Mr. Schultz.
Question about the shorter term portion of the 20-year plan. And actually, this is a very specific question to the infrastructure bill that was passed. And I'm curious, are there funds available to school districts from the federal infrastructure bill? And are there timing events we need to be aware of and make sure we don't miss out on windows of potential funding? And I don't expect an answer in this meeting because I know it was just a thought I had and I wanted to put it out there, maybe for us to make sure we're aware of.
thank you.
I can actually address that indirectly a little bit. So my understanding is that there are generally not funds available in the infrastructure bill. There is some money available through the Department of Energy that I shared with the administration a while back for a number of competitive processes, but in general, especially major programs and or earmarks are not part of the infrastructure bill for school districts. Thank you. Sure. So, Mr.
I
Fisher.
have an observation that I've repeated over the years, but I don't think people at this table have heard it. It's, it has galled me that we've spent tens or maybe over $100,000 on repair projects at EP. Because since we knew that it needed to go, like, and while I know that this building, because it houses adults doing their work, is not as much of a priority, I hate to see good money go after bad in doing major projects. So, and that may necessitate reshuffling priorities if we're going to be spending a lot of money on projects like fixing a roof and the lintels that are causing an exterior moisture problem that could compromise the integrity of the building, that kind of thing. That's not a small repair, and if we're going to do a big repair like that, maybe there's temporary space to move this building into in an interim while we sell this place, so we can get some, cash. And that's just, I'm not saying that's the solution at all. I'm saying that's a suggested thing to think about rather than spending that money.
So I think you guys know me well enough. That's why I rely on specialists. That's why we're calling in professionals. I respect anyone's recommendations.
It's not a record.
No,
I'm spitballing.
Again, I respect anyone's recommendations, but we're going through the process to make sure that all possible alternatives are brought forth to you for consideration. That is the process that we're going through. So that could be one, and there could be 3 to 4 others. But that's why we're putting bids out to vendors right now, to architects and engineers, because we want to know what our options are. EP has a lot of issues that we are addressing. We do have to throw money at it right now because I've got to keep a safe and orderly environment over there for those individuals that are occupying the building. We don't have a choice in that. If you walk into the auditorium right now, you'll see probably about 20, 25 floor tiles that are up because of the issue with the infiltration of the water. I've got to address that because that irks me. Bottom line, I mean, we regardless of there's still a standard of excellence that I feel. So I'm going to have to, for all of you, play that fine balancing act in terms of what our non-negotiables are versus throwing bad money against a situation that at some point we hope goes away. So I know, Joe, I respect Mr. Fishman, what you just said, but that's why we're doing this. So each one of you can have a recommendation. And I hope that it's captured under the study that we're having done. And then as we're looking at the dollars and cents of those options, we can make an informed decision on what the best course of action is. That's how I'm thinking. I'm just letting you in my mind. This is not new for me, nor Josh, nor Tim. So you're in good hands. It's just financially figuring out what the course of action is going to be once we have all of the data to present to you. Okay? Yes, sir.
Sorry, Ms. Henry.
Just one comment is that I know there are some really large decisions and financial dollars that have to go into any of the repairs and changes that need to be made.
Mhm.
But I also want to acknowledge the difference. And as you go past Cheltenham Elementary, I'm always trying to hit that light. So now I got to stop and look at that flag. Now I just said that. But seriously, when you walk around, you can see the care that's being provided to our buildings. Even in here, sitting in this looks like a brand new room compared to what it was before. And so I just and you deal with the other personnel challenges. So I just want to say that it does go noticed, the amount of work and the effort that has to go in there. And I think it's important to do that so that you don't just get stuck in just looking at the problems and things. We appreciate it.
We appreciate, you guys know this, honestly, it helps us keep moving forward. It does, so.
You never know, you look down the hall.
Did you highlight the other sign that was out front? We were inundated with individuals always wanting to come to the door where the flagpole is.
The first slide.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, so it's just, I mean, little common sense things, but just having folks know now,
How would
you wouldn't, right? So we, now, it's tagged, we tagged our buildings, so come around to the back. So, it is those little things that do, in terms of efficiency, make a difference, because that was an inconvenience for everyone. So I'm done. Mr. Khan, to you, sir.
Yes.
Can I ask something that actually, I'm just gonna ask because it's a facilities committee meeting. Curious to where things stand with Cedar Brook and the water seepage situation there. We've had some rains, and curious as to. sort of where that-
Josh has an update that he can give you for that, for sure.
So, we had a civil engineer come in and review the site plans. The site itself is supposed to catch certain amounts of water, particularly water on heavy rain, like a 100-year flood or 50-year type of rain event. The professional we brought in his opinion, and he's very accredited professional, does not think that site meets those requirements as it should, and that there's more work to be done in order to make sure that it does effectively have enough volume to catch what it should. So obviously there's a bigger issue and a bigger picture behind the scenes without going into it too much. But that's the essence of it. The next step is to develop a plan to fix it and replace it.
Thank you.
Just very brief. I did see the picture online of the sustainability committee. I believe, I don't know if they were on, but for the record, I wanted to just honor River, all of the people on the committee, but River, I believe I saw River is one of the people in the committee. She's active. She's
Yeah, River's
on the
everywhere.
Planning Advisory Committee. I think I saw her on, as part of another effort, I think in the video that showing appreciation to the school board members. And so I want to just lift them up in this moment. Keep doing what you're doing, even if you're not watching right now.
River and Charles are
Yeah.
the front runners.
If I can just go back to the issue about the longer-term facilities plan for open up to the public. To be somewhat tactful, there've been a series of, in previous leadership and eras of non-decisions, bad decisions about site planning for buildings and process related to that. And I'm not sure what the work that's coming up is going to relate to what will happen ultimately, which is more detailed about final site planning, especially if you move to new buildings on the Elkins Park or Cheltenham High School properties. But my point is that I would hope that there would be some thoughtful consideration analysis of the actual physical sites, as opposed to just making relatively, in my mind, to be a little bit blunt, rash decisions about building focused and not really looking at the site in terms of alternatives and location and impact on the property itself, probably for sustainability, also logistics, transportation. So my point again is, hopefully from my perspective, there'll be some thoughtfulness around the actual sites themselves and what can and cannot be done, and where some possibilities are for building, especially if we move down the road towards actually doing new buildings on one or both those properties. And there are challenges, especially the EP property. So, any comments or questions from the public?
Absolutely.
If you can please state your name and where you
Sure.
reside in the township.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Faith. My name is Faith Minter. I've lived in the district since 2005, so almost 18 years. This is my husband, Gerville, and we have raised two boys. Our oldest graduated in 2014, along with Joel's son, Danny. They're teammates. And so I've known Joel for a long time. We're neighbors. And so I'm here because my youngest is 11th grade there at Cheltenham High School. And when I inquired about swimming as a part of the classroom requirements, he said it was no longer available at the school. So I was wondering if this is the right forum to ask, since this facility, if there's something wrong with the pool. I assume it's no longer available at Shelton High School. I know when my oldest son came through, it was a requirement. I mean, he didn't have to do it because he had gone to the Y and he learned how to swim. Unfortunately, my youngest child was a part of the IU because he was born deaf in his right ear. So he's a little bit different. And I wanted him to take the class as part of the graduation requirement, and it's no longer available. So I'm like, maybe something's wrong with the pool. So maybe this is the right forum to come and ask. And also, I'm glad you guys have plans to rebuild the high school because my son also plays football. And
I'm sorry, I just want to put a pin. We don't know if we're going to rebuild the high school. I don't even want that. That is the ultimate, but I just wanted to add some clarity.
In order for Charlotte to effectively compete with the other schools within Montgomery County, you have to do something about it because the children are mistreated when visitors come to the school because I stand in the crowd on a Friday night and the bleachers are inappropriate. There's not enough space. The people are running and stampeding other folks, right? Something must be done about it.
Understood.
The locker rooms, they complain about it, about the locker rooms, the visiting team. So again, so we have to do something about it. So I'm glad it's maybe on your 5 or your 10 or your 15-year strat plan, but that must be addressed. But my biggest reason for being here tonight is the pool.
So the swimming component of PE classes was dropped in 2018. That's it.
That is dropped after my oldest graduated. That's why I'm here, because I knew it existed.
You asked, is there a swimming program? I'm simply sharing that I do remember receiving that question. I do remember reaching out and the response that the program was under physical education, was dropped in 2018. It seemed like one of the major challenges were finding lifeguards. Apparently, it seems like some students not in classes that had gone through the program were serving as lifeguards. But right now that would be something that would need to be revisited. Our pool is fine. It is still functioning, up and running. There still is a swimming team, but there are not currently classes under PE. So I just have this information based on your inquiry.
Correct, because I know I sent an email as well.
Yeah.
So what would I need to do to make sure this happens? Because there are a lot of students who, that's a requirement for some colleges, you have to be able to swim to graduate. So I mean, why would the high school remove that program?
I'm going back to a time where I was not here. And that's the reality. So it's something that we could potentially revisit. But I would need time to do my due diligence. I can't just answer off the cuff right now.
I mean, I don't know if my son is graduating in 2024, so I'm not sure if it will be available next year.
Right.
But I think it's something that the school district should never have dropped.
Right. I wish you were.
Well, my kids are 10 years apart, so
Right. No, I'm just saying I wish it was aware. I only found out because you asked, to be quite honest with you.
Correct, because I only figured it out because I wrote a counselor and asked if he could get that class. She said it's no longer. I'm like, what? And I know my, like I said, I have 2 boys. My oldest graduated in 2014, and then my youngest is going to graduate in 2024. So I do have a gap. So I guess I lost. I was in tune.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the public?
I mean, more of a follow-up comment. My name is Gerville Brown, Elkins Park. Well, this is my wife. Same time frame exists. And I just also want to reiterate the point. Like I said, our son besides being deaf, he's also on the autism spectrum. So, that's his full story. But he plays football and is also on the track and field team. So he's trying his best to, normalize or fit in as best as he can. And if I could support him in any way, I will do that. So, and just because of that, what my wife was saying about go to different schools, not only are the students in awe, the parents are in awe. Because when I go to see their facility that they have, I'm looking around like, whoa, can you believe this? And whether you believe it or not, it does leave a complex on our students. So it's more of a, issue. I mean, in terms of going forward, I'm sure you guys are going to incorporate that when you rebuild Sheldon High School.
So you may not be aware of this comment that I've made earlier. I'm a graduate of Cheltenham, 1983 graduate. It's the same facility when I was a student. So I'm not trying to be short but believe me, is one of my most pressing issues and concerns, because I hear from multiple students and families exactly what you're sharing.
Okay.
And that's why I mentioned to the board the steps that we're taking. So when I say the options that we're looking at, all of that is a part of it. What are we going to do to address the high school? What are we going to do to address EP? Maybe not in that order. It's going to be based on what the recommendations are. And then third is what are we going to do to address this building? So please stay tuned. When we have that full report, that is something that we will present to the board and to the community at large. So it's on our radar.
Well, in terms of myself, even though our son is in 11th grade, about to graduate, I consider myself a long-term resident of Augsburg.
Yes, sir.
So I will advocate for other kids also. And Joel Fishbein will attest to this because he was a coach, soccer coach for my son. And he knows that I usually walk up and down the field, side of the field, yelling. And a lot of times he'll look at me and say, shut up and go. It never happened. So, like I said, I intend to be a recurrent presence in terms of advocating, not just for my son, but for what I feel other students in the district. So thank you.
No, I received that and thank you. Thank
I
you
do
both.
have another question, but I need to come to the other meeting about the school. What's that school?
Well, it's some issue that happened with the basketball team up in morning.
No, not that school. I'm talking about the trade school.
Eastern.
Easter. So again, like I said, my child has a disability, right? So he wanted to do trade. And when we tried to get him into the trade school, they were telling me that all 3 fields that he picked was taken. He wasn't able to get in. No, when I listened to the last school board meeting, it said that Shelton wasn't, we didn't have enough students enrolling. So I don't understand the difference of you wanting to enroll and getting enrolled. How does that work? How are you paying for a set number of students to attend Eastern? However, even when you pick 3 classes that you would like to take, you still don't get into the program. And I wanted my son to get in because, again, he has a disability. Maybe college is not going to be the right place for him.
Is it Minto? Is that your last name?
Faith Minto, yes.
So I will respond
Please do.
just to your other email so that you can re-email. I want to know what 3 courses. I know, and Mr. Charles Bedell Williams serves on the committee, that there is a waiting list, unfortunately, for many of their programs. I'm not sure what your son applied for.
HVAC, electrical, and crypto network in our network.
Okay.
Those were the 3. He got none.
All right.
So when he said enrollment is down, no, it's not down. People are trying to get in, but they're not getting in. So how does that work? Is there a set number of slots for Cheltenham High School?
Yes.
For the fields and
There is.
all over for the fields?
I don't mind answering it. That's
Sure.
Yes, please do.
Yep, so you're right. So Eastern's facility, right, is centered around managing a specific number of students for each course. The 3 that you just named are 3 of the 4 most popular, if you include allied health or the nursing.
Okay.
Those are the others where the wait list is normally double or triple the size of the number of kids who are admitted. Sometimes they, the teachers make exceptions, they let in 1 or 2 more, they do their best to try to manage that.
But what Eastern has tried to do is to create alternate program or create programs that are very similar in their design, such that if a student can't get into, let's say, the cybersecurity or, is interested in welding, that they can maybe go for like robotics, right? Which is an area that is a STEM discipline that does involve some amount of electrical engineering and does provide some of the background that's pretty similar to try to reduce the wait list while still providing an opportunity and not technically removing it. It is a challenge for Eastern. There are conversations again about what they can do with their facility in terms of trying to increase capacity, and they've done so where possible. And, again, to your point, doesn't eliminate the fact that there is a wait list for a significant number of the most popular areas. Yep.
Just a question that might be relevant for you. Are the Eastern board meetings public meetings?
They are,
And would it be reasonable for them to potentially speak at
absolutely.
that meeting?
The next meeting for the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology is tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Where?
It's virtual, and the link is on Eastern's website, eastech.org.
Because he, according to the counselor now, because of the 2-year program, he's done. He's basically done, so there you go.
Understood. And yeah, I don't think that's an isolated issue, unfortunately, but I do know that Eastern has tried to create programs to expand their program offerings, but also to provide opportunities that will shorten the wait list and give folks, some opportunity, if not necessarily their first top picks.
So let me ask you this, the Cheltenham School District, if we can't get the kids enrolled, how do you pay? You pay for a set number of students, even if those students are not enrolled?
You pay for the students who are enrolled.
Oh, okay.
So
I just want to make
our
sure
costs
that
are directly
my
proportional.
tax dollars are spent in that regard.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second, should we do?
Thank you.